Oh boy, do I have a wild one for you. So, my husband, he's been going out with his work buddy. Every single weekend on Saturday they go to a bar. Doesn't sound that bad, right? My husband needs friends. Oh, I forgot to mention, she's a 23-year-old female and she's absolutely gorgeous. Alright, so we've been together for 8 years and married for over a year now. He's been working in this company after he graduated from college. I've never heard him talk about any of his other coworkers because he's not really the kind of guy who tries so hard to make a connection with other people. He's very introvert and likes to be in his own little bubble. Sadly, he's just the type of guy that's easy to approach and talk with. He doesn't know that, but I've been with him for 8 years. He's very calm, funny, and quirky. These past few months, my husband has been mentioning this, quote, poor girl. I remembered a lot of bullcrap happened to her this year, and that's why my husband's trying to uplift her. Well, my husband does not usually do this. Honestly, he usually doesn't give a duck about anyone. He asked me if I'm cool if he'll be bringing this girl to a bar. And I asked if I could tag along, and he said he doesn't really want to stir up any awkwardness between me and her, especially since he's trying to comfort her after she has this recent breakup. He showed me a picture of her. She's really obviously young and absolutely gorgeous. I've read their conversations, and it hurts sometimes that my husband always initiates the convos. They've been going out every Saturday. I told him I'm starting to feel uncomfortable with this friendship, and he said that there's nothing to worry about, that he's just helping her out. It's like a female-female friendship, he said. I don't know what he's trying to point out, but everything between them just scares the crap out of me. My husband still let me read their conversation from time to time, and the freak, it hurts me when he responds to her faster than me. I hate how he kept apologizing whenever this girl left her on red. It's some freaking weird stuff. Reading how my husband begged this girl to give him some of her attention and time, and let me tell you, I can't take it anymore. I don't know how I would approach him because it always ended up that I'm feeling this for nothing, and there's nothing to worry about. I told him that I want to meet her, and he said, for what reason? I just don't know what to do anymore. I don't even think she knew that my husband's married. Alright guys, Mr. Reddito here. We are opening up with a wild story. This situation is so absurd. In my opinion, I think it's a major red flag, but don't worry guys. There's multiple updates and we will get to the bottom of this. So, subscribe to the channel if you're new here as I have daily stories, and let's hop into update numero uno. After this post, I approached my husband that I want him to stop seeing this girl every Saturday, unless he would bring me along. He told me that I'm not making any sense, that he could just bring me, and why I'm making this such a big deal. I asked him if the girl knew he's married, and based on his reaction, I knew that she doesn't know he's married. He said that why would he brush the fact he's married in her face? I called him names and he got upset. I took his phone and went through every single app. He's been messaging her from time to time. I found out he gave her a very, very expensive gift worth almost $1,000. Guys, I was so mad about it. We had a joint and personal account. A lot of things happened after this post that my brain could not process everything. I've threatened him that I'll tell this girl I'm his wife, and she's being nothing more than a homewrecker. He said he'll never forgive me if he ruins this one and only friendship that he has. So I told him that he doesn't make any sense, that he's being straight up disrespectful to our relationship. He said that he doesn't feel the love ever since we got married. He's never been this happy, excited, and content with anyone. I ended up messaging the girl, and she said that she doesn't know that he's married and was very apologetic. Oh my, oh my. He was mad and left the house. I don't know what to do. I've been calling his phone, but he's not picking up. So I messaged the girl if she's with him, and she said that he's not there. That she just got into a breakup and a lot of things happened to her. She doesn't even want to be involved anymore. She was so sorry. If she could have known he's married, she would not ever bother going out with him. I found out she just started working there 3 months ago. I have so many questions in my mind. Final update. I've not told any of the family and friends about this because simply I feel embarrassed. Very ugly and pathetic right now. The last thing I want to see on their face is the pity face. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me right now. My husband went back around 3 a.m. and we talked about it. He said he could no longer see me in his future ever since we got married, and the reason why he's been working a lot was he doesn't want to be around me. I asked him why did he wait because we've been married for a year. He thought his feelings would come back eventually, that it's just a phase and there's no way his love for me will be gone overnight. But every day feels just worse for him. He doesn't want me anymore, that he thinks it's totally over, and we could even be friends. He said that throughout our marriage life, he just moved on. I felt the ultimate betrayal, like I got stabbed in the back. I told him that we could go for couples counseling and work through this. He cried, said that he doesn't want to be stuck anymore. It's not about his coworker anymore, it's about what he felt in our relationship. He cried, and well, he asked for a divorce. While I'm crying and begging him not to, I'm just so confused and I don't know what to do. I feel like I was a good partner. I asked him about his coworker, if they've ever had sexual acts, and he said that he genuinely cares and likes her. He's getting to know her more, bullcrap, but he thinks she just doesn't see him that way. Nothing's happened between them. I asked him about the money he spent on her, and he said that he bought her a Christmas gift. Oh, big deal. I'm so much in pain that I felt numb. I couldn't believe this is truly happening to me, and I think this would be my last update. I guess I'll be welcoming 2023 as a freaking divorced woman. Alright, so there was this one comment. It got highlighted. It got a lot of attention. It's short, but I think it puts this situation into context very quickly. Here's a revision history of the story, and I quote, "I haven't loved you since," fill in the blank, is typical adultery babble. Homie's having an emotional affair with his unsuspecting coworker and will say whatever he has to in order to justify himself. Comment 2 replies to that and says, yeah, and it's always conveniently way before the infidelity. The real answer is, I haven't loved you since I thought I could be with a super hot 23-year-old. Guys, I have to agree with this one. It just seems I was getting so many red flags from this. The guy was definitely in the wrong. He didn't even tell his coworker that he's married. Probably hid his ring from her. Who knows what he was up to? Red flag number 1, I think that guy's an a-hole. But if you don't agree, that's fine. Drop your opinions down below and let's talk about it. Story 2 that we're going to look at, and by the way, there's 3 stories on today's video. Story number 2 is titled, Am I the a-hole for not inviting my mother-in-law to Christmas celebrations? Yeah, I'm 31 male, and my wife's 30 female, and we have 1 child, 4 male. And my wife is 6 months pregnant with our daughter who's due in March. My wife and I have been friends since we were about 5 years of age. So I've known her and her parents for more than 25 years now, a quarter of a century. Her parents were always very approving of us dating, which we started doing in high school. Her parents split up about a year after my wife finished high school, and her dad moved out of the picture, so it was just her mom, who's now 65 primarily. Her mother was the nicest person in the world, until our first child was born 4 years ago. Her issue with it was our son was born out of wedlock. She was very vocal about her disapproval of this, but my wife seemed to be able to get her to come around somehow. However, she's since been very cold, passive-aggressive, and in some cases downright mean to us. And much worse, our son. I wouldn't even say the family's religious, but it seems to just be custom that is abided by in that family. My brother and sister-in-law both have partners, but are waiting until marriage to have children. Much to my mother-in-law's delight, the last 4 years, she's blown off numerous events, only hanging out with us if her other kids are busy. She did not come to our wedding, which of course caused a massive rift in the family, and drama of course. All of this time, I've been nothing but lenient with her. I've never lost my temper or gotten mad at her, never been vocal or had any resentment or hatred towards her whatsoever. I've given her hundreds of chances to redeem herself. Well, last New Year's Eve, we convinced her to babysit our son. We made these concrete arrangements in September and checked on it in multiple times between September and December. As my wife and I were preparing to go out, getting dressed up, etc., she canceled on us, saying she, quote, had other plans. My wife and I weren't able to hire a babysitter in time, so we had to stay back with our son, which obviously isn't the worst thing in the world. In June of 2022, we told her we were expecting our second child, and I think you can imagine her reaction. "Oh, this time you actually waited till you're married, huh?" Well, guys, she gave us a really hard time, mostly through snarky remarks, but while a bit tipsy a couple days later, she went so far to call us, quote, addicts of sexual behavior, because none of her other kids had kids yet. For all of this year, I've acted like nothing's happened, still giving her the benefit of the doubt and trying to make this work, blowing the New Year's Eve and June debacles off, but this Christmas, I've decided to take my revenge, and I told her she won't be invited to our family Christmas party, which is saying something, because even my wife's dad, who we rarely make contact with, is coming. Christmas is probably the biggest deal in our family. I should also say that we've never been invited to anything hosted by her, although all of her other kids and their partners are. Since our son was born, and in the rare case that she does invite our family, it's always just my wife specifically excluding me, often explicitly. So now we are met with not inviting her, and my mother-in-law is absolutely furious. My wife's furious, most of the family's furious, and now I need to know, am I an a-hole for deciding to uninvite her? Guys, this is a wild ride. Mr. Reddito here. Here's your final update, 3 days later, a day after Christmas. As for my wife, and I, she was primarily upset that I've gone over her head on matters regarding her family, and I entirely understand where she's coming from. I've apologized to her. We've talked and we've made up under the promise that we will work as a team from here on out. And I'll consult her on anything that involves her, particularly with her own family. As for the elephant in the room, my wife has always recognized her mother as a bit of an a-hole since our son was born, but has constantly operated under the quote, she's family, pretense/excuse. Now, particularly with the help of these replies, as I explain it to her in a way that revolves more around our children than us, I feel she's beginning to come around to the viewpoint, which is one of wanting to protect our children at all cost, and to cut this harmful figure out of our life. She does not want to cut her mother entirely out though, but has promised to, if it's our wish, prevent her from seeing our son. And while I effectively only keeping contact between my wife and her mother, I told her I felt that would be best. And she told me that in that case, okay, it would only be her talking to her mother. She's also scheduled to go to therapy counseling to better grasp the situation and understand where she should go next. She tried inviting her mom, but she vehemently refused. So it's just my wife for now in therapy. I now feel as though there's a huge weight that's been lifted off my shoulders, and I can finally look forward to the birth of my daughter in March without any negative connotations or drag downs. So, thank you guys, all of you, for all the updates and replies. I honestly would have never been able to articulate my viewpoint to her if it wasn't for you and all your thoughtful replies. You guys have made this situation 100x better. So, I thank you again. Okay, so the comment section of this one was getting real. Here it is. Hey, this isn't over. Unless no contact extends to the daughter, mother-in-law's going to play crazy favoritism with that kid. Also, mother-in-law sounds positively unhinged. Mad because she's not invited. What's the matter? Mother-in-law, angry you can't go after your favorite punching bags. Side note, if these people even knew who Magda was, they'd probably be grateful about this mother-in-law. Hope therapy helps the wife see that she doesn't need that hateful lady in her life. Comment 2 says, Child number 1 and child number 2 will have a terrible relationship unless mother-in-law dearest is corralled. Absolutely not over, says third and final commenter. Mother-in-law is the dish it out but can't take it type. She doesn't invite them to anything but has a fit when she's not invited. She'll escalate and torture this family in order to, quote, be right or win. The wife's ear will be flooded with poison until she becomes mother-in-law's proxy, and OP has to leave his wife, or until wife realizes how toxic mother-in-law is, and finally goes no contact. So guys, I would love to know your opinion on this, the entire story. Tell me the craziest part. Tell me what you would have done if you were OP and you had to deal with this mother-in-law. And we'll finally look at the third and final story of the day. Am I the a-hole for uninviting a friend to my wedding so my boyfriend doesn't have to take care of him? Sounds pretty innocent. I'm 30 female, and Freddie have been dating for 6 years, and we're getting married next January. We're incredibly happy, and we can't wait to have our fabulous wedding. We both deal with anxiety because, well, we have very high-profile, demanding jobs. So we agreed to have a small wedding, simple, relaxed, and stress-free. I've shared spaces with Calum at my boyfriend's family events, parties, and he hangs out with my boyfriend a fair amount of time. He's great. I like him. I like Calum. But he's a very time-consuming person. Let me put this in caps. He's not disabled. Let's make that clear. Okay, so here's the issue though. Calum does this thing where he sits or stands very still and just stares into space for a long time. Freddie told me it's a thing called catatonia. I call that just zooming out or disassociating, as Gen Z said, LOL. The problem is that my boyfriend usually babysits him when this happens. I mean, he stays right next to him the whole time. I thought it was like a little cute, nice gesture, but on the day of our wedding, I mean, really? That sounds like the opposite of our dream day. He's even taller than my boyfriend, so just imagine a 6'4" guy just standing in the middle of our reception next to the groom. LMAO. Here's the conflict. I talked this privately with Calum, just me and him, and he did agree that this would be a distraction. He declined the invitation. I asked him to not tell anything to my boyfriend, and he said, quote, he would be too embarrassed to say anything anyways. I said, hey, please don't feel embarrassed. I know it's not your fault, and we left it at the very friendly and politely position. I told him he's more than welcome to join us for our Christmas dinner, because I know he's not close with his family, and like I said to him, I like him. I told my boyfriend that Calum declined, and he was disappointed, but he agreed that less guests fitted with our idea of a small, low-key, relaxed wedding, so it was perfect. The next day, I told my mom, my sister, and my maid of honor, and they were visibly upset with me. My mom said it was absolutely an a-hole move, and that it was a bleast, but I don't think that's true because it's not really a disability. I think it's more about his personality and his, quote, thing that I know is going to take a toll on my boyfriend that day. I want to make sure, though, I'm not a horrible person just to pacify my conscience. So let me ask you guys, am I the a-hole? What's up, guys? So I do have an update for you that came out just a day later. The reasoning behind the update, well, everybody in the first post was laying into OP, tagging her as absolutely the a-hole and a complete monster. If you don't agree to that statement, let me know in the comment section what you think about OP and the specific situation she's involved in, and let's see this update one day later. Hey guys, the a-hole tag is right, and the advice I got was much appreciated. I mean that. My first instinct should have been to speak directly with the two guys, the guy I love and the guy that my future husband loves. I was called out yesterday, and instead of going directly to them, my first thought was, oh, I need to learn from a reliable source. I should talk to a doctor before talking to Calum. And it's ducked up that even after all that happened, I was still thinking just about myself. Ugh. My sister called me yesterday to offer help again, and that was another wake-up call for me. I talked and apologized to Freddie last night. He was honestly more worried about Kayla. Above anything else, he said he wasn't hurt by the lie. He does always see the best in others. That man's heart is too big for his own darn good. He just blew up the behavior for pre-wedding anxiety, but I told him it was definitely more than that. Well, I talked to Caleb yesterday too, and he was kind enough to literally take an Uber and come to our place ASAP first thing in the morning. Without any question at all, and after I apologized, he was crying. Don't want to get into details, but he was clearly hurt by what I did, and at the same time, he was very relieved that my apology came rather quickly. He told me, quote, "I knew you had a good heart." I told him I took a village to wake me up, quite literally, and he apologized for downplaying his condition with me. He said he often does that to avoid freaking out people. That hit me like a brick. Cal and Fred shared some tears too. If the wedding happens, Caleb will definitely be there. From our long conversation, Freddie thinks that anxiety is too high right now, and he just wants to hire a wedding planner, maybe just to ease a little bit of the stress. I told him, hey, I probably need a little bit of therapy too, because I can't blame stupidity and lack of empathy on being stressed out. So we're not getting married in January. The venue always allows us to reschedule, so we might do that if possible. Like I said, if the wedding happens, Caleb will be there for sure, no questions about it. That's the only thing I know for certain. I haven't told this to anyone, I just think I need to write this down to get it out of my head. I feel like I failed at marriage even before starting it, and I failed at loving my new family too. Okay, so this one comment, we should probably read it. It got 5.3 thousand votes for being the best comment on the thread. Wow, I've never seen such an immediate and wholehearted turn around and admission of wrongdoing. Even though she was clearly in the wrong, I wish more people responded this way to being called out instead of doubling down on their behavior. Guys, this is kind of refreshing. Comment 2 replies to that and says, well, hold up. I think part of it is that she had no idea how serious the issue was because nobody around her treats it as a serious issue. She said in her first post that he isn't disabled. Whether it's clear to us or not, it seems like it wasn't clear to her. I can't really blame her for that part, but at the very least, she could have talked to her future husband and at least said something like, hey, I know Caleb does this thing, and I just want to make sure he has someone to take care of him so you don't have to on our special day. So guys, if she would have worded it like that, would she still be considered the a-hole? Or do you think her husband should be the one to decide if his best friend comes or not? I want to know your thoughts and opinions, and if you want to share something else, similar story, what it be, drop it in the comment section down below, guys. Thank you once again for tuning in. There's going to be so many stories to come this year. I got some really big ones lined up on this channel, Mr. Redito Animated, Mr. Redito Office Dramas. You can find all those in the links below. Thank you once again, guys. Here's to 2023, and I'll see you in the next one.